And I think you know this about me, at least I hope you do. I'm always very careful not to come off as being, sensational or even provocative, and I try to keep, try to stay calm. I was going to say that, but that's not really true. I'm not a very calm person. But I just want to say that in light of everything that has happened and even now is happening, this is truly, in every sense of the word, a game changer. And that's almost, in a way, an understatement of sorts. I'm going to ask that you bear with me. I'm going to try as best as I can to sort through all of this. I actually spent about 8 hours yesterday prior to this chemical attack just on the prophecy update, just by sheer virtue of how much has happened just in the last few days, just this last week. So what I want to do is argue the case that we are witnessing 3 specific prophecies. You see them there on the screen. We talk about them, it seems now, on a weekly basis, and for good reason. But I want to argue that we are witnessing these 3 specific prophecies beginning to come to pass very quickly. And I use that word for a reason. This is what Jesus said twice, actually, in the last chapter of the last book of the Bible, Revelation chapter 22. He said 2 times, "Behold, I come quickly." Now, we know that this word in the original language of the Greek New Testament is the Greek word tachos, where we get our English word for tachometer. And the reason I mention that again today is because what Jesus was saying is, "Behold, I come at a time when things are revving up, things are speeding up, things are happening more and more quickly." That's probably not a proper English sentence structure, but it is happening with increasing intensity and even increasing frequency. So what I want to do is focus in on these 3 prophecies, starting with Isaiah 17:1, which is a prophecy about Damascus, Syria, being so totally destroyed that it becomes uninhabitable. Very specific prophecy in verse 1 of Isaiah 17. There's also a prophecy in Jeremiah chapter 49 concerning Damascus, Syria as well. The second prophecy is a well-known one in Ezekiel 38, and this is a prophecy about an alliance of nations that launches an attack against Israel for the purpose of taking a spoil, which implies that at the time of the attack, Israel will be very prosperous. And we see that certainly today. Now, who is at the helm of this alliance of nations? It's none other than Russia, Iran, and Turkey. I'll call them and refer to them as the big 3, if you don't mind. But with them, other nations are allied together, and with Russia and Iran chiefly at the helm, they launch this attack against Israel. Now, I want to, and we're not going to take the time in the interest of time, but I want to draw your attention to a very specific detail within the Ezekiel 38 prophecy, and it's found in verse 13, where we're told by their ancient names, Sheba and Dedan, that Saudi Arabia and Tarshish and the young lions thereof will protest this allied attack against Israel. So kind of keep that in your hip pocket for now. I want to come back to that. But it is very specific concerning the role of modern day Saudi Arabia, and it implies that at the time of this attack, somehow, who knew that Saudi Arabia and Israel would have some sort of an alliance together and good foreign relations together. Saudi Arabia and Israel. So that's in verse 13. Let me just say it this way. 5 years ago, really, I would say even 3 years ago, I could not stand up here and talk about the detail of verse 13 in the present tense as I can today. Because now, as we speak, in real time, verse 13 is coming to pass exactly as we were told by the prophet Ezekiel some 2,500 plus years ago. So, that's the second prophecy. The third prophecy is in Zechariah 12, and specifically verses 1 through 3, which is a prophecy about how at this time, Jerusalem, God himself, will make Jerusalem the intoxicating obsession of the entire world. And even more specifically, the obsession with Jerusalem will be as it relates to dividing Jerusalem under the banner of what we know today as the so-called two-state solution, with Jews and Palestinians, so-called, living side by side together in, quote, peace and security, which brings into play another very astonishing prophecy found in the Apostle Paul's first epistle to the church in Thessalonica, chapter 5, verse 3, where he says that while they are saying those two words, specifically, peace and security, or peace and safety, as some of your translations render it. That's the same Greek word translated. In Greek, it's asphalia, which can be translated security or safety, really synonymous in terms. So the Apostle Paul says that while at the time, during the time when they're saying very specifically those two exact words, peace and security, sudden destruction will come upon them, not us, and they, not us, will not escape. We will. And what's really interesting is he likens, as did the Savior before him, this peace and security being likened to, and the sudden destruction that ensues being likened to a woman travailing in labor. Now, why is that so significant? Because these, like labor pains, come in greater frequency and greater intensity, and Jesus is likening his coming to a baby that's coming because of the birth pains. And so what we see happening now is exactly what we were told would be happening now. And again, you'll forgive me, but I really believe that we are witnessing exactly these prophecies beginning to come to pass. And I want to encourage you, especially if you're here today or watching online by some other way and you're very discouraged. I want to encourage you, as the Apostle Paul to the Thessalonian church said, encourage one another with these words. With what words? Oh, with these words. The trumpet's going to sound. And we who are alive and remain are going to be caught up and taken out of here in the great escape. It'll happen suddenly. What are you saying, Pastor? Are you suggesting that the rapture happens simultaneously with the sudden destruction that comes down upon them when they don't escape? Well, I'm careful to not be dogmatic about it, but I'm becoming increasingly convinced that when, not if, the sudden destruction comes down upon them and they will not escape, there's the other side of that. There's the we. We are not the they. Again, I know that's not proper English, so don't email me. We are the we who are alive and remain at the time that the sudden destruction comes down upon them. We will escape. They will not escape. We are the we. I know that's deeply profound. Here's the point. Be a we. Okay? All right, let's close in prayer. That was the that was the whole point right there. I just made the whole point. Be a we.